You think when a woman starts pulling back, acting cold, or suddenly lighting up around other men, that it's about you not being enough, but the truth is, it's about you forgetting who you were before you started performing for her attention. And right here, right now, I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening, why it's happening, and what you need to understand about female psychology when another man enters the picture. Because most men spiral, most men panic, most men become more of what's already pushing her away. And if you don't subscribe and keep this kind of clarity in front of you regularly, you'll forget this the moment your emotions spike, and you'll make the exact mistakes that turn attraction into obligation and presence into desperation. So here's the thesis. When a woman starts acting different because there's another man in the equation, she's not testing your love, she's testing your frame. She's not asking if you care more. She's asking if you're still the kind of man who doesn't need her validation to stand tall. And the moment you flinch, the moment you chase, the moment you try to negotiate or prove or compete, you've already lost, not because you're not good enough, but because you just showed her you don't believe you are. Let's start with the misconception. You think her behavior change is about him. You think if she's laughing harder at his jokes, responding faster to his texts, dressing better when he's around, or suddenly mentioning him in conversation, that it means he's better than you, more attractive, more interesting, more valuable. And so you start doing math, you start comparing, you start performing, you start trying harder, you start texting more, you start planning more, you start complimenting more, you start asking more questions about where she's going, who she's with, what she's doing. You start monitoring, you start managing, you start mothering your own relationship because you're terrified of losing control. But here's the hard truth. She's not comparing you to him. She's comparing the version of you that used to exist to the version standing in front of her now, the version that didn't need her approval, the version that had direction, the version that was building something, the version that could sit in silence without scrambling to fill it, the version that didn't rearrange his day around her mood, the version that didn't need her to text back in 5 minutes to feel secure. That version, she's looking for him. And when she doesn't see him anymore, when she sees a man who's become reactive, available, accommodating, eager to please, she starts wondering, not if she loves you, but if she respects you. And that's when the other man becomes interesting. Not because he's more handsome, not because he's richer or funnier or more successful, but because he's not chasing her. He's not invested yet. He's not performing. He's just there, present, unreactive, outcome independent. He's a reminder of what attraction actually feels like: uncertainty, tension, space, the opposite of comfort. So why does this happen? Let's go to the root cause. Most men, once they secure a woman's attention, they relax. They stop leading. They stop creating. They stop challenging her. They stop challenging themselves. They become available. They become predictable. They become safe. And safety, in the romantic sense, is the slow death of desire. She doesn't want a man she has to worry about losing every second, but she also doesn't want a man who's already decided she's the finish line. Women are attracted to momentum, to mission, to men who are going somewhere and happen to have space for her in that journey. Not men whose journey is her. And when you make her the center, when you start organizing your worth around her perception of you, she feels it. She feels the weight. She feels the responsibility. She feels like she's holding you up. And that's not attraction. That's burden. That's obligation. That's why she starts acting distant. That's why she starts creating space. That's why she stops initiating. Stops laughing as hard. Stops leaning in. She's not punishing you. She's trying to breathe. She's trying to remind you non-verbally that you used to be different, that you used to take up space instead of apologizing for it. And then another man shows up. Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's an ex. Maybe it's a guy at the gym. Maybe it's just someone in her social circle who gives her attention without the weight of expectation. And suddenly she lights up. She laughs louder. She touches her hair. She leans forward. She texts back faster. She mentions him. She talks about him. And you notice. Of course you notice. And it eats you alive. But here's what you need to understand. She's not doing it to hurt you. She's doing it because he's giving her something you stopped giving her: polarity, challenge, uncertainty, the feeling that she has to earn something, that she has to show up, that she might lose access if she doesn't. And I know that sounds manipulative. I know that sounds like game playing. But it's not strategy. It's biology. It's psychology. It's the same reason you're more attracted to her when she's not available than when she's sitting on your couch every night waiting for you to decide what to watch. Attraction requires tension. Tension requires space. Space requires confidence. And confidence requires self-respect. That's the chain. And the moment you break one link, the whole thing collapses. So what does it cost you when you react? When you chase? When you start competing with a man who isn't even playing the same game? Everything. It costs you her respect. It costs you your frame. It costs you your peace. You stop sleeping well. You stop working well. You stop thinking clearly. You start checking her phone. You start asking invasive questions. You start making accusations. You start creating rules. You start trying to control outcomes. You start shrinking your world to fit the size of your fear. And the smaller you get, the less she sees you. Not because she's cruel, but because attraction doesn't work that way. You cannot negotiate desire. You cannot logic someone into feeling what they used to feel. You can only become the kind of man who naturally generates it. And here's the reframe. Her acting different around another man is not a threat. It's information. It's a mirror. It's feedback. She's showing you that you've drifted, that you've gone soft, that you've stopped being the man she chose. And instead of seeing that as betrayal, see it as recalibration. See it as a chance to course correct. Not for her, for you. Because here's what most men miss. This isn't about winning her back. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about remembering that your value isn't determined by her attention, that your worth isn't contingent on her mood, that your mission isn't her validation. And the moment you remember that, the moment you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop defending, stop performing, everything shifts. So let me paint you a picture of the man who doesn't lose sleep over another man, the man who doesn't panic when she starts acting distant, the man who doesn't compete, doesn't compare, doesn't shrink. He wakes up with purpose. He has things to build. He has goals that exist independent of her presence. He trains. He works. He creates. He has friendships. He has standards. He has boundaries. He doesn't check his phone every 3 minutes. He doesn't rearrange his schedule to accommodate her whims. He doesn't apologize for having plans. He doesn't explain himself unless it's warranted. He doesn't defend his worth. He demonstrates it. Not to prove anything, but because that's who he is. When she texts, he responds when he's available. Not in 5 seconds. Not in 5 hours out of spite. Just when it makes sense. When she's distant, he gives her space. Not because he's playing games, but because he trusts that people who want to be in your life will show up, and people who don't, won't. And either way, he's fine. When she mentions another man, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't interrogate. He doesn't get jealous. He just observes. He notes it. He stays calm, because he knows his value isn't up for debate. He's not interested in competing for attention. He's interested in alignment. And if she's not aligned, that's information, not devastation. He doesn't ignore her. He's not cold. He's not passive-aggressive. He's just grounded. He's present when he's with her, fully, but he's not suffocating. He doesn't need constant reassurance. He doesn't need her to perform. He leads. He decides. He creates experiences. He invites her into his world, but he doesn't beg her to stay in it. And that non-neediness, that self-possession, that quiet confidence, it's magnetic. It's the exact thing that made her choose him in the first place. And it's the exact thing that will make her question why she ever looked elsewhere. But here's the key. He's not doing any of this to get her back. He's doing it because it's who he is. Because his self-respect isn't negotiable. Because he'd rather be alone and whole than together and fractured. And that energy, that frame, that boundaries over approval mentality, it changes everything. Not just with her, with everyone. So here's what you do. Right now, today, you stop chasing, you stop explaining, you stop defending, you stop trying to prove you're enough, you stop monitoring her behavior, you stop asking questions designed to fish for reassurance, you stop making yourself smaller to make her comfortable, you stop apologizing for taking up space, you stop waiting for permission to live your life, and you start building. You start showing up for yourself the way you've been showing up for her. You start training again. You start working on the projects you put aside. You start reconnecting with the friends you've been ignoring. You start saying no when no is the honest answer. You start saying yes to things that excite you, even if she's not interested. You start leading your own life again. You start remembering what it felt like to be the man who didn't need anyone's approval to feel valuable. And here's what happens. One of two things. Either she notices, she feels the shift, she feels the space, she feels the loss of your attention, she feels the tension come back, and she starts moving toward you again, not because you played a game, but because you became attractive again, because you reminded her why she chose you. Or she doesn't. She stays distant. She keeps entertaining the other guy. She keeps pulling away. And if that happens, you let her. Not out of bitterness, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because a woman who doesn't value your presence doesn't deserve your pursuit, and you're too valuable to beg someone to see it. Either way, you win, because you're no longer living in reaction. You're no longer organizing your emotional state around someone else's behavior. You're no longer a passenger in your own life. You're the driver, you're the standard, you're the frame, and that's where all your power lives. So let's be very clear about what this is really about. This isn't about her. This isn't about jealousy or competition or winning her back. This is about you remembering that you are not defined by her attention. You are not diminished by her distance. You are not less valuable because she's exploring other options. You are the same man you were before she showed up. The same man you'll be if she leaves. The same man who has work to do, goals to chase, standards to uphold, and a life to build. And if she wants to be part of that, great. If she doesn't, also great. Because you're not building a life to impress her. You're building a life because you respect yourself too much to waste it, performing for validation. That's the mindset. That's the frame. That's the energy that changes everything. You are not in competition with another man. You're in alignment with yourself. And when you're aligned, when you're grounded, when you're moving with purpose and self-respect, you become the kind of man women don't walk away from. Not because you're perfect, but because you're whole. And wholeness is rare. Wholeness is attractive. Wholeness is the answer. So stop looking outside yourself for proof that you're enough. Stop waiting for her to validate you. Stop letting another man's presence shake your foundation. You are the foundation. You are the prize. You are the answer. And the moment you believe that, the moment you act like that, everything else falls into place. If you need more of this, more truth, more clarity, more reminders that you don't need permission to respect yourself, subscribe, because this isn't feel-good fluff. This is the reality no one else is going to tell you, and you need it in front of you regularly, or you'll drift back into the same patterns that got you here. You're not alone in this. There's a whole community of men waking up to the same truths, doing the same work, reclaiming the same power. You belong here, and we're not going anywhere. Now go build,